Emotionally unavailable.
Welcome to Emotionally Unavailable, the podcast where we dive deep into the world of emotional availability and intimacy. I'm your host, Melissa Hepner, and I can't tell you how excited I am to have you join me on this journey of self-discovery and connection. Whether you're navigating the complexities of relationships or exploring your own emotional landscape, this podcast is here to inspire, empower, and entertain. So get cozy and let's explore the depths of human emotions together. Hello, everyone. Happy Friday. Hope it's fabulous. Hopefully, by the time you're hearing this, Oklahoma City Thunder are the champions. Today's guest is Morgan Bazilkov. I did not ask how to pronounce her last name, and I feel terrible. I'm sorry, Morgan, if I mispronounced that. Morgan's an Atlanta-based spiritual coach and artist, and she connects people to love and the beauty within and all around. Her work fosters healing, self-discovery, and a deeper appreciation for life's natural beauty. She explores finding the love, acceptance, and worthiness, security, and enoughness within ourselves instead of seeking it from external sources. She's a certified plant medicine facilitator and spiritual life coach and loves to talk about the full range of life experiences and the transformation that occurs through life's journey from darkness to light. Does that sound familiar? Darkness to light. Okay. I love that I've had so many people on that resonate so much with my story. So Jake got a new dog. His name's Danny. He's currently harassing me by, chewing on clothes. So I'm having to walk around and grab him while I'm trying to record this. And you may imagine that is not a good time for me. So anyway, astrology been whack. So if last weekend and the first couple days of this week were rough for you too, they were rough for me. Getting better though. So a lot of positive shifts have happened this week, and I hope the same for you guys. I love you. I'm so grateful to have the audience that I do, and this little show is making waves, and it's going to get bigger, and I have always believed that, and I love that there are people listening who also believe that and support me and, what we're trying to do with the show, and, okay, well, I guess that's it for me. Please, I'm just going to say this every episode. Please don't be frustrated about the ads. I know that it sucks, but I have to make money, and I don't even know how much money I'm going to make from this. When I find out August 1st, how much I'm making, and if it's not worth the headache, then we won't do it anymore, okay? But if it is, then we're all just going to understand that mama needs money, okay? All right, I love you. Have a fucking fabulous Friday. Have a wonderful weekend. Summer solstice. Oh, today, when this airs, it'll be summer solstice. Do an activity. Feed your spirit. Understand that you have everything you need inside of you. So make it a beautiful fucking day and weekend. And I love you. Talk to you later. Here's me and Morgan.
Emotionally unavailable.
Okay, it worked. So just so you know, we're already recording and we're just going to dive right in.
Okay, great.
I didn't used to be all explicit about that, but it tripped people out. So it's so nice to meet you. I was reading your profile again earlier, and I have to say, what really just lit up around the words for me was I'm gonna say it wrong, but finding your enoughness. You know what I mean? And that's really been I keep getting these deeper and deeper understandings of that, because I'm like, I probably maybe I would say around last July was really when healing was getting really working. But in that time, I really had not even just one spiritual awakening. I was having just several revelations to the point where I was kind of afraid I had spiritual psychosis for a second, because there was so much learning and undoing and, the things. But something that I just keep coming across is another way I didn't feel enough, and I was just talking to someone else even about, avoidance. That really is, and I'm gonna say because I believe we are all avoidant until we deal with it, right? But I really think that that's our key trigger in avoidance, is that I'm not enough. So when someone puts an expectation on us, we're like, ah, and I'm just noticing the ways still that I battle that. Like, I'm so grateful to be able to hear it now, because you remember, like, when your brain is all crazy and you can't, it's just operating from autopilot and you have no idea what or why or when or where. But then now I'm really aware. I kind of thought being aware was going to make it so much easier. The only thing it makes easier is, like, I'm not going to do the following behavior that I used to would have once I, like, felt like that trigger. But it is not easy to just constantly be in that energy of I'm more than enough. So anyway, that was a really long sentence. So what was your journey with that?
Well, first, thank you for sharing that. And that's incredible that you had these spiritual awakenings and it felt like a lot at once with all the learnings, because it often happens that way, right? Like we're on autopilot for so long and then like everything either falls apart or comes together or both.
Both,
And,
yeah.
right. And then it's like, oh, now I see. And there's this new awareness that just keeps growing. So, I mean, for me, I definitely went through a dark night of the soul, and there was this crescendo of suffering. And I was completely in survival mode. And then I took some plant medicine in an effort to recover from my PTSD from having cancer, because I was in such a deep loop of fear of dying. And is it going to come back? When is it going to come back? Is it already in me? All of the questions that were pushing me to attach to something that I thought that maybe I was both in control of and out of control of. There was, and that's very, you know, we can relate to it in so many other parts of our life too. Right? We think, what can we control, because we feel so out of control. And my solution at the time was to do psilocybin. And I thought I was creating a purposeful and intentional experience at the time. But looking back, I didn't do it in like the most amazing way. But even without the full preparation and integration and support that I needed at the time, I got the message of, if I can let go of my guilt and shame, I could become light and love. Yes. I've never heard that before. Even if I had heard it externally, I had never truly felt it internally. It had never been some experiential learning, right? As someone who in my college years had identified on the Myers-Briggs as a thinking, I was ENTP, which is thinking rather than feeling. I was always thinking my way through the different concepts of let go, let God that you hear in Al-Anon, or just all of the ways that philosophy and spirituality are translated in these mind-centered thinking ways. I had gone through that process and could understand it intellectually, but never had actually experienced enoughness.
God, we are saying the same thing. That's crazy. Yeah.
Yes, because it's I feel like that in so many ways, our survival mode of as individuals and as a collective looks very similar, right? It's, I will do anything to survive. My ego will prevail because it is desperate not to die. You know, and so that manifests in all of the ways that we are selfish and self-centered and victims and all of the things. And I say we as in like, I have done these things.
Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah. And then the truth
is, why we say it.
Right. And then the truth is equally communal. The truth is also love, unconditional love, enoughness, worth, you know, all of that. And then everything in between is just our own personality and the way we like show up in life. So
But how much of your shame
Yes.
and guilt came from your personality? Because it did me. I mean, I'm pretty fiery and I have been my whole life. And it was a very untempered fire for a very long time. So that was single-handedly the biggest source of shame for me, was that fire, because sometimes I was so cold, and like sometimes I was so sharp, like just, and I wasn't always the version of myself that I wanted to be. And I felt simultaneously too much and not enough, which I think is really common. But yeah, I mean, I just normal personality stuff where like I'm like, or even like the fact that I would get pretty bitchy if I was tired and hungry, which is not an abnormal thing, but like, boy, I feel like I am a little worse at that than other people. Like some people will just shut down and get tired. I get extra bitchy, like just crazy town. But that's, I mean, if you think about what survival mode is, like, of course I was triggering that even worse if I was hungry and tired. Like my body is saying, I am in need of something for survival. But to your point about intellectualization, I mean, I was like, oh, this is what I've been doing my entire life. I had no idea how to experience a feeling at all. And I mean, at all. I could think and ruminate and I mean, some of that was me protecting myself too, because we're so afraid to feel.
Yes. I was just listening. I love that. And what's coming up for me right now when you were talking about like expressing. So when we're expressing the anger and we're just like sharing what we're feeling without actually sitting with the feeling, that's also a way of avoiding experiencing and processing and releasing it. I was just listening to David Hawkins' book this morning called Letting Go, I think. And he was saying that there is that expression is just like this self-perpetuating experience rather than processing and letting go of the feeling, right? So, and that's the problem that I have found and that I've heard other people experience with talk therapy, right? Because we can express all day, and yet I know for myself that I was just stuck in a loop of my own story. Instead of the story going on in here, the story was just coming out of my face. And so,
yeah, and you're just triggering the shit out of yourself, right?
Well, and the triggering is beautiful because it brings the emotion up. But if we just take that emotion and say the words, that's only part of the battle. Like it is beautiful to be like self-validating and validated from someone else. Like when we say the thing and we experience validation, like that's beautiful and it helps each other heal and all of those things. But if we find that we're stuck in a loop of just, we're still saying the same things and telling the same stories, even if the same story is like with a different person or a different job or a different circumstance, but it's the same story of victimhood or whatever the things are. Yes, I know, it's like palm on the face.
Cringing because of how much I did that and how I didn't even know I was victimizing myself. I mean, I would vent and vent and vent about the same shit, to where I started giving myself a rule. And this was pre-healing, okay? But I was like, Melissa, you're allowed to tell one person, one time. And if you feel the need to do it again, then you have to go to some sort of prayer closet or something and try to figure it out. Now, spoiler alert, I could not figure it out. I could not, because I didn't know what the root of my issues was. But I did know I was perpetuating a lot of shit by continuing to just vent or gossip or just talk shit about the person, like, and I feel like we're kind of all doing a version of that.
Yes. But and so when we put a stop to that cycle, and that's what your rule sounds like you were trying to do. You were like, that is not working. Let me find a different way. But like you said, it's like the root, and the root is that, whatever story is attached to the root, when it comes down to it, it comes down to like what Gabor Mate says, which is choosing attachment over authenticity. And authenticity is feeling what we feel in the
Yep.
moment without judgment and without repression or
Mm-hmm.
suppression or avoidance of the emotions. So if we start turning our daily lives into the meditation, if we start turning our daily moments into the prayer of, I'm noticing I'm having a feeling and it's
Mm-hmm.
okay. And where is it in my body? And like in meditation, when we notice the thing, we hear the sound ends, and then we feel a thing, and then the feeling ends. That's what our daily life can be too. When we slow down enough, when we're not avoiding or escaping or stuffing down all of the things that, and that come up. And that's the routine that we learned as children because it
Oh,
was out
sure.
of our own survival. But now we have a choice. Once we become aware of it, we can go, like, I notice when I'm outsourcing, um, because I feel like I either can't handle something because I don't feel empowered, right? And I need to say a thing or do a thing and I'm afraid of it, or, I'm frustrated or angry with something external and I wish it were changing, but it doesn't, whatever that was. And then I start outsourcing to other people, like for advice or for the venting, like you said, right? I'm like, okay, whew, let me stop and notice the feeling that's coming up in my body. Can I just sit with it like I would sit with it in a meditation and just like let it run its course, validate it, feel it, and then be like breathe through it. It's like having a baby, right? So there's
Yes.
that, I don't know about you, and some people, haven't had children, but one of the things before I had any children that I went to a birthing class and they explained to us was right before you have a child, oftentimes if you're giving natural birth, like if you're having natural birth, and I don't know if it happens in other situations, but there is like this natural phenomenon which is just insane, and I did experience it, where you want to stop and give up,
Yeah.
and you're just like, you know what, I might be 10 centimeters dilated, but I'm actually just going to go home now, if you're not at home having birth, or just like, this was
I
stupid,
said that
I'm
with
not
my
going to have
first.
this
I
baby.
was like,
You
fuck
did?
this. We're leaving. We're leaving. I want to leave. We're
Yes.
going. We're not doing this.
Yes. And so if we take that metaphor and we'll turn it into a metaphor and then like see it in other parts of our lives, sometimes things get so crazy that we're just like, I'm out of here.
You're
I'm done. I
right.
can't handle this anymore. And and usually there's like this process of crescendoing and then surrendering to the process, and then just it releases itself from the body.
Yeah.
Right? You be like birth our feelings and we allow them to leave our bodies. And usually, like, I know now that if I'm experiencing anxiety, I'm not anxious. That's not my identity. But if I'm having this feeling come up in my body and I'm like, without judging it or feeling like I have to avoid it, I just say, oh, there's that burning in my solar plexus, right? It gets to that crescendo of, okay, let me notice it because it's screaming at me. The universe is like, I've tried whispering to you, I've tried talking to you, I'm going to yell at you now so you actually pay attention. And then I surrender to it. I surrender to the situation. I surrender to the
Yeah.
person. I surrender to whatever the external thing is because it's there to teach me and trigger me. And I surrender to the body emotion. And so it's fully like taking myself out of an ego mode and saying, I'm here as a witness. I give up. I give up in the best
Yes.
possible way, like choosing
Yes. Well,
surrender.
because resistance keeps us stuck in any way. That's been my mantra for probably 5 months now, is like, oh, resistance keeps us stuck. But sometimes, if I'm just being 100% honest, and I feel vulnerable saying this, but whatever, um, I am, I'm like, am I doing this right? Sometimes because anxiety is actually one that I feel like I'm really good at moving through, because I know if this energy is in my body of like just the electric feeling and I'm a little bit up, I know there is an actual feeling I haven't dealt with. And so I'm like, what have I been white knuckling through the last few days? What is that? And then that one's easy for me. But where I'm kind of like questioning if I'm bypassing or avoiding, because I don't want to do that anymore. And this new practice of as of the last few days has it feels good. So I have to think that it's good. But I've kind of been like, because I started noticing where thoughts like like thoughts that I used to be like a prisoner to will pop up now. And for a minute I was shushing them and like, oh no, we don't think like that. And then I was like, that is resistance. And that is, I felt dismissing a version of myself who needed to work through that. So tell me what you think about this. Okay. So what I've been doing is I've been like, Melissa, there is a version of you that hasn't caught up to where we are right now. And so I'm going to invite, this is literally what I've been doing. I'm going to invite any version of me that isn't right here where I am in my understanding of people, places, and things. Like I here understand that person's behavior doesn't have anything to do with me. And so I'm going to invite this version of me to join me because you haven't mastered that yet. So let's try to become a little more whole here. It feels really good. It doesn't feel bad. So like so far I feel okay about this new practice, but I still feel like I've always been such an old soul, but I'm such a fucking little baby too. Like I'm learning so many things and the whole asking for advice thing, I'm never happy with the advice. So I don't know why I still do this because I know what answer. I will know what answer. And then I go to someone and I'm like, so do you think that I should da da da? And they're like, and I'm like, that's not what I want to hear. And it's not what I want to hear. That's not the answer. And I know that. So I don't know why I did it anyway, but it's that I'm not enough. And that's another area that I catch myself like, you're enough to make that decision. So like I have just been trying to call back and call in the versions of me that are still figuring shit out. What are your thoughts on that? Because
I
it's
absolutely
new.
love it.
Do
Oh my
you?
gosh, I
Okay.
love it. I love it. And I think there's this vilification of the ego, right? Where we say that part of me is wrong or bad, and I shouldn't be having those thoughts, or those thoughts don't belong here. And I have this image, just a couple of days ago, I thought of this image, and I read about children and babies that when we are learning things, it's like our brains are these bushes that get pruned, right? And we stop using certain parts of our brain. And I always loved that image. And then I started thinking about like ourselves as whole beings when we're born, and then we start pruning off parts of ourselves that we're like, you know what, this part is too much. This part is not worthy. This part is not enough. And those parts of us are like pruned branches that have fallen that we like don't consider part of ourselves. And I was imagining like finding those pieces and grafting them back onto my plant. Like,
Yeah.
if I am a tree, like, can I graft those branches and pieces of myself back on? And the places where they heal back together will be stronger,
Yeah.
Like bringing love to all the parts of ourself that we have through our own parentification, right? The internalized parent or internalized cultural norms in society and all of the things, all the conditioning. Yeah, so we have said those thoughts are not okay, but our thoughts are pointing us towards the work that we're here to do, right? And we don't have to attach to them. We can just notice them and thank them and be like, oh, I notice I'm still thinking about my ex. I notice that I'm still thinking about the job, and then be like, okay, and if I move out of this and then down into the body, where's the feeling that wants to come up?
Mm-hmm.
Like you said, right? That there's like something below it that wants to be dealt with. And yes, it's like all the past versions of ourself that weren't empowered to
Yeah.
feel the thing, say the thing, whatever it was to protect and express ourselves. Like we're integrating those parts of ourselves and loving that 5-year-old
Yes.
that wanted to be angry and didn't feel safe to be angry, or the
Yes.
14-year-old who wanted to rebel and say, this is what I want in my life, but we, didn't feel like that choice and that authentic expression was valid. So we follow the conditioning to, fill in the whatever personal blank is it's
Right.
get the good grades, get into the school, get the job, get the spouse, the child, whatever the recipe is that we're
Well, and
conditioned to
at this
follow.
level, we're like judging like healing and outward
Yeah.
expression. And, like, I'm not zen enough. I'm not loving enough. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's the stuff that I'm like, found myself really holding myself to a cross about, was like, I'm not being perfect enough at being imperfect. Like, I'm getting really good at like embracing who I am. But that was a key factor in me dismissing older versions or former versions of myself. Was, we don't do that. Like, we love each other. And so I'm just like, kind of like, come on, baby, grow up with me, and this is, I mean, I didn't come up with this on my own. Somebody I met on here kind of mentioned that, and I was like, let me try this, like the way I know how to interpret that. But I'm still in a lot of ways new to integration. I really am, because I learned something and I practice it, and then also just like life. So I'll be in a really good hygiene kind of place, and then not. And so, ups and downs, ebbs and flows. But I just feel like there's times that I just feel so sad for those versions of me that didn't get what they needed. And then sad even now, because I'm constantly like telling them to be quiet. Like someone that I met on here was saying, and it may have been the same person where I got this idea from, but they said like that they had a conversation with like their guides, and it was like, how do you show up for money or something like that, like your relationship with money? And they're like, oh, I'm only there when I need something. So I started to think about the energy of everything around me, and how am I showing up? And I was just really hit, like, for that day, I guess what I really needed to learn was, I'm still silencing these versions of myself that have felt silenced their whole life. Now, so even though I right now am so fucking thrilled to be able to feel like I can talk and share and get this connection with people, they didn't get that. And so that's the only thing like that I feel so heavily called to do right now, is to constantly include them and be like, you are fun and worth being here. Like, that's okay that you're insecure. Show up. Like, come be with me. Come have community with these other versions of me that have grown. Man, it's hilarious, because if I had had this conversation, or even heard this conversation 2 years ago, I'd be like, they crazy.
Yes.
They crazy. But exactly what I'm talking about. I love it.
Yeah. And I think that's so awesome. And it's extraordinary how, we can be like fast forwarding in so many ways. And then we hit a moment where we go, oh gosh, now I'm just applying my not enoughness to my spirituality.
Yeah.
And I'm not loving enough. I'm not all of these things enough. And then we get to, but that's so beautiful too, because even that is just bringing more awareness to how our ego is showing up in all of the ways, right? And then the really, really, really cool, beautiful thing, and this is something I'm always reminding myself of, is when I get really um I don't know, specific about myself. Sometimes I like to blow it up into the collective, because one of the things that and it helps me. I don't know if this will resonate with you, but a lot of my plant medicine experiences with ayahuasca and psilocybin have shown me my own judgments, and also how my judgments keep me separated from other people and the world, and my sense of oneness with all things.
Absolutely.
Like in once I turned into a grasshopper when I asked to see a past life, and then I immediately judged it, and I was like, what? You're going to show me I'm a grasshopper? And then I was hit with, are you better than a grasshopper? And then I was like, no, I'm not
Exactly.
better than a grasshopper. I'm one with all things. So when when I when I find myself judging myself for my not enoughness, sometimes I like to, like, it's like that breathe in and breathe out. Like, I notice my own judgment of myself, and then I ask myself, and how am I judging others for their not enoughness?
Yes.
And in the same way that I've pruned off parts of myself and there are pieces lying on the ground and I need to graft them onto myself, how am I also not accepting parts of the world and the collective? And I've pruned off parts of the collective because I'm a fractal of the collective. And I've said
Mm-hmm.
that they are not enough, or they
Yes.
are not worthy. And so there's like this in and out um, integration of like, all right, when I zoom way out, how can I be more loving and accepting and unconditionally loving? And then back to the self. Because life, like you said, life keeps happening,
Mm-hmm.
and the hygiene isn't always keeping up. And I know that when I'm by myself, it's a whole lot easier to
Yeah,
be
yeah.
the amazing person that I've always
Just
wanted to
been,
be.
Zen Buddha just over here like love
Right.
and light. Namaste.
That's right.
Namaste. Yeah.
And then
But you get
life.
me in a stressful situation. I'm like,
Right. And then all the, the anger and
yes.
judgment and all of the things come out. So like we're constantly gifted by the struggles of life
Yes.
to dive back down and get into the things and the pieces, and noticing the parts of ourselves and the parts of the collective, which is also us, that we're still
Yeah.
struggling with. Oh, yeah, but it is such a journey. And then finally, it comes down to being is enough.
Yes. That you were born
Being.
with all the worth and value. And this is the thing. I was going to talk about something else, but this is what's coming up for me right now. Is I've been trying to figure out where I'm blocking myself in like manifesting and blah blah. And it is in the worthiness, and I just had like, I'm not even going to be able to explain it because it's just like an inner knowing, but it is different even than I thought it was. Like every day I'm uncovering a place where like I'm still holding on to that religious programming of like, you're never going to be worthy enough, you're never going to be good enough, so don't even try, but also try to glorify God and blah 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 blah. So I think like every single time I say it to myself or someone else, like, you're just because you're born, you're on this earth. I heard when I said it to you, I heard the resistance, like, well, sort of, or you know what I mean? Like, and I can't even fully, I could identify it, but I couldn't, like, I just know it's there. But like, absolutely, it is a very foreign concept for about 99.9% of this population on this earth that, like, literally, just because you exist, you are full of worth and value. The thing that I don't resist is that nothing outside of me changes the worth or value that I have. I'm pretty settled in that. I feel good about that. Like, we're good, we're good. But I'm still having to soften some things to feel like, no, really, just because you were born, just to get, like, your soul has a purpose. It's not like this version of me doesn't feel that, but though that's where I'm pulling the babies in, and I'm like, hey, we are though. Like, I know it's hard for you to believe that, but we are. But I felt, I read when I was reading your profile, you had mentioned like the mirror thing. And that was one of my first ahas, was like, oh shit, we're we're all like, and it started with my husband. Like, I was like, I can't stand about 90% of the things he does. And I just know that has to be about me. And so I was like, all right, I have a theory that if I hate something in someone else, I hate it in me. So I started applying it. I haven't told this story in a long time, but I talked about it a lot for a minute because it was so, but I was like, okay, what's the number one thing? Because I started testing it with everyone around me. With my husband, I was like, what's the number one thing I hate about this man? I was like, because he's a slob. He's a slob, and I hate that. And then I was like, well, I mean, I can't hate that because I'm messy. Like, I'm not messy. And then I was like, I'm messy. I'm messy. It took a long time to say it, like, because I'm the only one who cleans up the messes oftentimes. I feel like I'm not, but the truth is I'm creating most of them. A lot of the not really since I figured that out, but like, I mean, my room is because of me. Absolutely. It's a dirty ass mess right now. And that's because of me. But also it's because I can't clean everything by myself. So like, the truth is I suck at asking for help, and I feel like I shouldn't have to. So like, that's irrational. So I just work on it. I work on being like, please help me, but I'm not good at it. But like, I started to apply that with everyone. Like, okay. And then I went to judgment, and I said, if I'm judging, where is that in me? And boy, it opened everything up for me. And then I was like, wow, we really are all just the same, aren't we? It looks different. And that's why I would call this the mirror effect too, is like, like reverse mirror imaging. So it will distort the fact that you're doing the exact same shit, but you are. And that is when I felt a part of the collective. That was when that happened. And I was like, just kumbaya with the fellow man. I'm picturing us all holding each other just in a circle around the globe, because I'm like, no, but we really are. And we're all related. Like, there's no way we're not. Like, I feel your DNA. I feel your DNA. Like, we're all here to do something. We got to do it. And it's just been a really cool little unraveling of like, okay, here's your lesson for today, but
Yes.
where I'm at right now really is this just deepening my understanding of where I'm still blocked. And also, you said something that made me think of this earlier, but I'm trying to be very curious about all things. Like, instead of, because God, I was the worst about just like latching onto a thought, and like running off with it. But like last night, my husband responded to something kind of like gruff, which like is not like him. He's really like calm and soft, but I don't know. It may not have even been as gruff as I thought it was. But instead of being like, God, what's your problem? I was like, I wonder why he reacted like that. Like, and I'm trying to do a lot more of that. Why did I react that way? And why did he react that way? Why did they react that way? Like, wonder what that was about. Instead of like, oh, hell no. Or, oh my God, I can't believe they talked to me like that. Like, it's not about me, Like, yeah, I'm allowed to have my feelings. So if somebody does something outrageous, that's one thing. But like, people are just people, and I was never allowing anyone to be just themselves ever, ever, ever.
Right. And it's never personal.
Yeah, but see, this is where I'm like, sometimes I was dismissing myself because I would be like, it's not personal. We don't take things personally. But now I'm trying. That's been like part of my integration, is trying to be like, did it feel personal? Like, I'm like, did it feel personal? That's okay that it felt personal. Do you need a minute? And like, me and my internal dialogue now, it's a little wild, but it's there, and it really helps, because I'll be like, did we need a minute? I said, did it feel personal? Okay, but you understand that it's not, instead of this immediate. So this is the thing. My grandma was my primary caregiver for most of my life. And when she died in 2015, I knew I wasn't doing it right. I knew that. I knew I wasn't dealing with the grief, but anytime a thought would come up, I'd be like, nope. And I wouldn't think about it. And I was shoving it down. And I was a very angry person. And I'm not playing. I was binge eating donuts. So the two of them, dozens of donuts a day, just eating them and then screaming at everyone all the time. And I was like, so I started running. Another way to punish myself. Not that running's inherently bad, but I wasn't using it very nicely to myself. But like, I didn't know how to do it. I didn't know how to deal with those feelings at all. And it finally occurred to me, like, I think you're avoiding. And so we probably just need to, feel a little bit. I didn't know how to feel. So I didn't know how to do that, but I knew I needed to. And that's been one of the releases that's happened since this awakening is like, I'm able to allow and not think and just let it hurt really bad for about 90 seconds. And then that's it. And then I'm like, are you better? Are you good? It's okay. Like, and sometimes you get this really good
Yes.
cry that you've been needing really bad. And then I can just go. Like used to, the crying would just lead to like overthinking that would
Mhm.
perpetuate like a whole 3-week spiral. And now I'm
You're
just like, okay, what
unconditionally
do we
loving
need?
yourself. Yeah, you're
I'm trying. I'm
unconditionally
trying.
loving and taking care of yourself. When you said in the beginning of that there's like a sense of it's not possible, like there's a religious conditioning of like it's not accessible. Um, I've been on a David Hawkins kick lately, and one of the things he said was that like our future spirit, like our higher self, has already is already like pulling us. It's not that our past is pushing us where we're going. It's like our higher self is pulling us.
Mm-hmm.
And I do believe at my core that there will come a time outside of this time space, feels impossible, but like all of our souls as a part of a collective in our individual expressions will reach enlightenment. So we are already worthy of being the Buddha, you know, embodying Christ consciousness. That is in, whatever our journey is after however many lifetimes, like that is the ultimate destination for all of us, and we're all worthy of it.
Mm-hmm.
And our true inner divinity is already there. We've just forgotten. Like we have forgotten
Mm-hmm.
the unconditional love that is not just us, but all things. And we're just on the journey of evolution. So whether it's Abraham Hicks talking about just loving the journey, or all like so many spiritual teachers point to the same thing of like we're here, we have access to all of the things. Even Jesus was like, I am the truth, the way, and the light. Like I am the way. Like we can be that divinity. And as we're getting more aware and more conscious, like, like you said, we're at the point where we're judging our spirituality.
Mm-hmm.
We're in a point where it's like that awareness is quickening. It's exponentially growing,
Mm-hmm.
and as a collective, the more of us that are doing this and talking to each other about these cool things and sharing this light and this love, people are going to start to recognize and remember it more quickly, because we're looking at other people who are in survival mode, like shining so much love and encouragement and trust in the process, that everyone is affected by
Yeah.
our individual things. And it's 100% possible. Not only possible, it is, I believe it's going to happen to all of our souls at some
Mm-hmm.
point. It's just like enjoying the journey as much as possible. And that has
Yes.
to do with the manifestation. Instead of wanting something in the future that we're trying to manifest happening, it's like, how am I already gratitude? How am I already taking care? Like as a parent, if my children want something new in their lives that maybe they already have some version of, whether it's shoes or a bike or all the things, the first thing I look at is like, how are they taking care of the thing that they already have? Well,
Mm-hmm.
if I'm asking the universe for more, how am I already taking care of the things, the relationships, my body? You know, how am I taking care of and being grateful for and feeling the abundance for what I already have? Is
Yeah.
my laundry done? Are the dishes being taken care of? Am I maintaining my car? You know, it doesn't matter what kind of car I have. It could be a really old, nasty car, but am I appreciating it and taking care of it before I ask for the resources to buy a new one?
Right.
You know, am I taking, and if I want more friends, how am I maintaining the friendships that I have? Um, you know, if I want more health, how am I taking care of and appreciating the parts of me that work? Because I know about health. You know, when we
Right.
don't have our health, all of the focus of everything else goes away and we
Yeah.
focus on the one part of us that isn't working. And that happens with relationships too, right? Like I could have 20 great friends, but I'm going to focus on the one friend that isn't working. But how
Right.
can I focus on like everything that is working and
Well,
really
and
nurture
another
and
way
take
of
care of
saying
it?
that is like, how am I showing up? What am I living in gratitude? How is that expression of gratitude looking? Like what, because I thought about this the other day too, after an edible. I have to put shit in my notes
Yes.
app because I will forget it. But and I just thought about that. I'm glad I put it in my notes app, but I thought about it while you were talking. But something I thought about is like another way I'm sourcing things is like, so I don't even remember what high ass thought got me here, but I remember thinking about how powerful I was and am. And I was like, getting into this energy of being the master of the universe. But I noticed something. The way I always like, I feel like I will do one thing and then don't integrate it. So what I was noticing was like, I will envision, but there's a separation in the way I envision things. It's like a future version of me or a different person. And then I was like, no, 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 no. Feel that. Don't just like, okay, now you've seen it. What does that feel like? Now feel it here. And
Yes.
I was like having this whole experience. But I'm really glad that I like mentioned the whole edible thing because I keep, and something told me like, well, that's their opinion. You don't have to listen to that. But I get, I'm addicted to TikTok a little bit. Okay. I love the spiritual community on TikTok. I like really because I live in Oklahoma. So like there's not a lot of that here. And so, also I'm just looking for more friends and community and whatever. But there's people who are like so judgy about spiritual folk using any kind of drugs. And I'm like, bro, I'm sorry, but I can't be on that because I do edibles every single night and I feel otherworldly oftentimes. And I like it. I sit there and I really just get into all of it, the love, the joy, the peace, the magnetism, I get so much information, take edible, get in the shower, like all this information about how to just keep going because life is tough sometimes. And not because I have anything particular to like complain about or anything, but things happen that affect you deeply, whether you're spiritual or not. And I'm learning still how to not white knuckle through experiences and just to try. Like the only thing I know sometimes is like, okay, I got to take like 5 steps back. Like right now, I'm feeling like really heavy with this situation. I can't take on the load that I usually have. I'm going to have to drop some of this load while this weight is on me because I don't know how to do it all. And, I don't think I'm supposed to. So, like, that's the thing is like learning how to take care of myself in those moments where I'm really weighed down by a problem. That's a beautiful experience to get to go through and to understand, like, okay, and there are going to be times that like this human experience is really hard and you can't stay tapped into this highest self. Like you got to be anchored and there's no way to do both at the same time sometimes. Like you got to be your human self. And then as I'm processing, I'm really connected and I'm like, okay, I know why. Okay, great. Now we're back. And you get some steam and you move ahead. And then another thing happens because God knows I am signed up Morgan, for lots of lessons in this lifetime. And you know what? I'm saying that so jokingly. It's serious. And I'm not like, yes, I would like a little reprieve sometimes from the lessons. I would like just a little time to enjoy some things, but that's fine too. But like it really, every single challenge that I go through, when I come out of it, I'm like, bro, they were not kidding. I am really here for something. Like I wouldn't be given all of this on a very routine and consistent basis if I was not here for a very mighty purpose. I feel lucky because I have felt a very strong, mighty purpose my whole life, and I'm living it. Like I have never really like I always knew I was going through the things I did as a child because it was going to save others. Like that was the thing. Like you're going to use this information, share it with others. They're going to apply it. And so I know when I'm going through something, it's because whatever I figure out in that, I'm going to now share with others. And that's my whole brand. That's my whole brand
Beautiful.
is doing that.
Thank you. Right. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much. Yeah. Because it's that journey from darkness to light that resonates. And we all have like our own vibrational pattern, right? We're all like a snowflake or whatever it is that, excuse me, that like creates our own special vibration that people are going to relate to, And so whatever our darkness is, like I can just get on here and be like, all is love, all is love, all is love.
Yeah.
But people are going to be like, yeah, right. Okay, crazy lady. Like, I don't know what that means. I haven't experienced that. Like, that's what me 5 years ago would be saying. Be like,
yeah, absolutely.
Don't
I'd be like, cool, wackadoodle.
Right. That's great for you. Sucks for me though, because I'm still suffering. In fact, I remember even 5 years ago, I would just be like walking, especially in the dark night of my soul. I would go for walks with people and I would just have a list of like all the things that are happening to me and have happened to me. And the people that I was attracting were people who had similar experiences. And now I'm attracting people who have had the similar experiences and are either going through it and I can share the light on the other side, or they've come through the similar experiences and we can share light. We can like reflect light with each other about how we've come through, and we can help each other on our journeys in a different way now. But it's so beautiful that you're transforming and alchemizing, the lead, the heaviness, the weight, the pain, the suffering, and turning it into gold. But if we don't share it, that might be our path. But when we do feel called to share it, it's such a gift.
Yeah.
That you were aware of that is amazing, even as you were going through it.
I mean, it was crazy. Like literally, I remember the 2 times in my life that I had a very solid vision of this. Like once when I was about 4, and it was just like a voice talking to me like, this is what's going to happen, and da-da-da. And then the second time I was in 8th or 9th grade, and it was lunchtime, and we were in our gym area. That's, where concessions are sold in a basketball game. That was our student store. So you could eat in the cafeteria, or you could go purchase shit food like Hot Pockets and chips out at the student store. I was in there, and in the gym, a different grade was receiving a presentation from maybe a Miss Oklahoma or someone like that, but it was motivational and they were sharing their story. I was standing there and I was watching her, and then boom, I hear and see at the exact same time, you are going to go through so much stuff. Like it said, your parents are going to die. Like neither of them were dead yet. This was the year before my dad died though. And all of these things are going to happen, and you're going to be fine, and you're going to share all of these things. You're going to be this person. You're going to be standing on a stage like this for your job. Like at some point in your life, this is where you're headed. This is your direction. You're creating a stage every trial so that you can share with others how to get through these hard times.
only by saying how you did it. And sometimes I still get stuck in this like teacher mentality, and I have to be like, it's just your story, honey. Like, just share your story. Don't get preachy. You have to just get, this is what I did. We're all doing the same shit, but since it looks a little different, it feels a little different, and it takes time to work through. Because like, I wish to God that just me going, hey, but you could look at it like this, would allow someone to become enlightened, and it doesn't. Like, I'm constantly with my clients, I'm like, what you're saying is not wrong. In this plane, great, fine. That's a very therapeutic response. That's fine. I'm trying to take you to a different level of consciousness, and it occurred to me a couple days ago that you can't drag someone to consciousness, but when they're not experiencing these teachings the way I did, because a lot of my clients aren't spiritual. Some of them are becoming spiritual because of me, but whatever. But like, I'm understanding the limitations when if you haven't opened up to receive this type of information. It's just different, and that's fine. I'm not better. I am on a different plane here. So, but it is very comforting because I've always gone back to the fact that like, this is your purpose. This is your purpose. That was the thing truly that got me through the first 18 years, was like, this is the purpose. Then I went a little like, I got kind of pissed and resentful at the everything happens for a reason thing. Because I'm sorry, it is a dismissive statement. Don't say that to somebody and they're suffering, we can say that because we have learned to have gratitude for our experiences. But if you're not there yet, I'm not going to trigger your ass by saying you have to be or should be. Like, I hope that one day you will get there, but also I can sit with you now in your discomfort. Whereas before I couldn't. And I realized that's what we're all doing, is we don't know how to sit with somebody where they are and just be with them. We want to fix it. We're uncomfortable. It brings up all of our shame and our fear and our not enoughness. And so we don't know how to sit with someone. Well, now that I do, I'm not just automatically dismissing or poo-pooing and like, well, you should, well, you should. I don't know. What should I do? I'm just trying to figure it all out. But I mean, it does feel good, I think, to have something that I can fully lean into sometimes. Like, even though I don't always know what I'm doing or where I'm going, I'm like, but I mean, it eliminates a lot of the fear. I think I still struggle with the same stuff everybody does, but the fear isn't really there. There's a little bit of imposter syndrome that'll pop up, and there's the not enoughness that'll pop up. And I can look at those things and be like, well, the fact that I fully believe that I'm going to be here because right here is where I am. I don't know. I'm just going to keep doing it, I guess.
Yeah, it is so validating to have someone sit and just reflect that when you're struggling. Mm-hmm. Because it's true. If we're not at a place, when I was not at a place to receive the messages, I just rejected it. Mm-hmm. And said, that's not true, right? That's not for me. That's not true. And I heard someone tell me recently that everyone has a different capacity for truth.
Yeah.
And that really helped me release a lot of stuff, a lot of judgment. It helped me forgive, because even though I can say to myself and others and write, like I'm writing a book, but there are all these times that I can write, and instances I can say that everyone is always doing their best in every moment.
Yeah.
And that I was always doing my best in every moment in the past, and given my internal and external resources at any moment, there's still that resistance to the idea. And so hearing that everyone has a different capacity for truth was another way of putting like the same thing.
Yeah.
Because there, in my life, in my dark to light journey, a lot of it had to do with narcissism. And I learned to gaslight myself as a toddler, and then I attracted people who would do it for me as well. So I was doing it internally and getting it externally, because They were there to reflect my shadows back to me of all of the things, all of the self-limiting beliefs. And there are still some people in my life who have a lot of that energy, right? And those labels are useful in terms of helping us understand our own part in things. So I use that as an energy rather than a person, because that
Right.
energy comes out in a lot of different ways. Even the
Absolutely.
victim is a different version of narcissist. I got raising
Mhm.
both hands here.
Yes.
So, you know, when other people are in avoidance and it manifests as a denial of their part in a situation, and I struggle with that because obviously I can, and I'm saying this in a joking way, right? Like, obviously I can see their part in it,
Mhm.
but
Was
then,
just thinking about this yesterday, so I know
yeah.
it's not a coincidence that we're having this
Of course,
conversation.
of course. And so here's my darkness being able to share and resonate, right? So it's so beautiful that we become aware of it and then can translate that, with each other. And then, so I I have struggled, and I'm really getting much better at it now, but for so long it was like, but this is the truth. And and why are they like literally lying? Like,
Mhm.
there's now, oh, there's so much more forgiveness to just go, you know what,
Yes.
and I can go back to like my own shorthand for Byron Katie's work, which is self-inquiry around judgments and self-limiting beliefs. But my shorthand is, when have I done that? Right? So I can
Yep.
ask myself, when have I unknowingly, because if people know better, they do better. So they literally don't
Right.
even
No one's going to
realize,
sit there and be a bastard for just because they
right?
choose to be.
It's out of survival mode. So when
Yes.
have I, out of my own survival mode, been in complete denial or
Mhm.
avoidance and not been completely aware of truth? And ultimately, the truth is unconditional love. So all day, every day, I am accessing my avoidance of unconditional love, even if it's just not unconditionally loving myself. And
Yep.
so we all have a certain capacity for truth and an ability to avoid that truth or not tap into it. Because going back to it all, the real ultimate truth, I believe, have experienced in ayahuasca and psilocybin, which is completely let go of my ego for like moments, just moments, has been, we are all one and everything is love. So if I'm not tapped into that, I am somewhere on the scale of my capacity for truth.
Absolutely. Oh, I love the way you put that. Well, I hate to rush.
Yes.
I'm late for an appointment, as always. It was so good to meet you. I'm so thrilled to have had you on. And I promise I do a separate intro. I'll read your whole bio and I will include all the links in my show notes and I will talk about them. So don't be worried about that.
Oh, I'm
And
not
I,
worried.
I
It's
hope that
awesome.
we can stay connected in any way. And if you're on Instagram, I'll follow you there and I will make you a collaborator in any post that I make about this.
Amazing. Thank you so much. And yeah,
Yes.
if I connect to that, I will promote it as well.
Perfect. Okay. I hope you have a terrific Tuesday.
Thank you. You too.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Take
Bye
care.
bye.
Hey, make sure you've given the show a 5-star rating on whatever platform you're listening to if you haven't already. And check out my website, empoweredwithmelissahepner.org, or my link tree on Instagram at melissa.hepner to check out my latest offers or workshops.
Emotionally unavailable.
All right, that's it from me. So make sure that you check out the show notes for links. And until next time, let's all just keep swimming.
Emotionally unavailable.
INDEPE and cut.